My name is Abhishek Jain and welcome back to the Kubernetes tutorial series part 2. In the previous video, we understood how we can set up a Kubernetes on a Ubuntu machine. When we set up a Kubernetes, we got three major components: KubeAdm, kubectl and a kubelet. So in this video, we're gonna understand what is KubeAdm with the help of a demo. So without wasting a time, let's try to find out what is KubeAdm. So if I just run a KubeAdm help, let's see what we got. So we got this. It's a bootstrap or secure Kubernetes cluster. So what does it mean? KubeAdm is a kind of a bootstrapper which actually helps us to configure and initialize all the process required for setting up any machine as a master, which is actually a main machine which controls all the functioning of a Kubernetes cluster. And these are the commands which comes with the KubeAdm. And in a today's video, we're gonna use this init and the reset one, not the join one, because in the next video we're gonna use the join, but we briefly will discuss about what exactly the join does for us, right? So if I want to use a KubeAdm init command, we can find out what all options we have with the KubeAdm. So there are a bunch of options which we have with flags, we have options as well, but for now we will be restricting ourselves for just init because I wanted to cover some concept related to the init. So what this init is doing is it is actually setting up this machine as a master for the Kubernetes cluster, right? And this machine is going to be the first machine which we want to join the Kubernetes cluster. So this init is actually going, if you will see first few things, it is checking whether your machine is ready for creating a Kubernetes cluster or not. Then you will see some certificates are being set up. Then you will see some configs are being set up, right? The major part is related to the control panel, which is actually the heart, and all the logic and the processes are being handled by this control plane as well, which you can see on my screen. Right, in a control plane we have scheduler, API server, controller manager and an etcd, right? And once that Kubernetes master gets initialized, you will see it's tell us to set up some folders where we have to set up a machine for the another regular user. Then it is asking us to set up a pod network deployment for that, which is actually known in a Kubernetes as a container network interface, which we're gonna see how we can set up that. So the very first thing which we have to do is, before jumping into setting up our configuration for the local user, I want to show you something. If I put a docker ps here, you will see some bunch of containers are being run, but before init those container will not be there. You can always check by putting a docker ps before running a kubeadm init command. Here whatever the name is starting with the k8s pod, you can ignore for now, but rest of the thing, if you will see, the rest container are API server, etcd Kubernetes, scheduler and the controller manager and the proxy one, right? So API server is actually exposed, all the API endpoints for the Kubernetes, and which actually work as a front end kind of stuff for the Kubernetes cluster. Then we have a etcd which actually stores all the configuration and the state of a cluster in the form of a key value storage. Then we have a Kube-Scheduler which actually help us to just to keep an eye on all the created nodes, and if something goes wrong with that, then Kube-Scheduler is trying to just get that is up and running. And we're gonna just cover all these components because along with the Kube-Scheduler there is a controller. There are the controller which have the controller mechanism which actually help us all the failure situation. How does that help? That we're gonna cover in upcoming videos, but for now just stick to the basic stuff. So now we have these containers running and we have to set up our machine for a regular user, and for that I have to just go to the home directory of a user you want to set, and we want to create a docker cube. Not docker cube, it's a .cube folder inside the home directory. And once that's get run, we have to copy one Kubernetes related configuration which is getting created by the kubeadm init command, and that known as the admin config, and we have to copy here. And the ownership of that admin.conf is a root, so we have to change the ownership for the user, and right now I have only Ubuntu user, so I'm just gonna change the ownership with Ubuntu for admin conf. The last thing which is not mentioned in the command is we have to export, or we have to set a one environment variable. If you won't do that, you will not be able to communicate with the various components. So let me just run one command which is related to kubectl. So now the very briefly, the kubectl is actually, once you just create the cluster and master machine gets set up, which is going to happen once we just set up all these commands, then the kubectl is the command line tool which actually help us to manage and control all the Kubernetes cluster. But we're gonna see the related commands in the upcoming videos. But for now, just put this kubectl and put that, not nodes, it's nodes. Okay, so I'm not able to connect with that because I didn't set the environmental variable, which is kubeconfig, and I have to set this as home Ubuntu, where our config machine is lying. Okay, and if I run this command now, we will see this. So right now, if you will see, the Kubernetes master is not ready, right? So to make this ready, we have to run, let me just copy this, which because we're gonna use this in our next video, right? So when we run the KubeAdm init command, it was asking us to set up a pod network as well. To understand the pod network, we have this proper documentation of Kubernetes which you can refer to figure it out what is networking, and it's a very comprehensive and a good documentation. But for now, just for understanding perspective, whatever the objects we have on this Kubernetes machine to allow to communicate between each other, we have a pods, we have nodes, we have services, we have volumes, we have different kind of machines, so that we can enable with when we just set up the pod network. And the Kubernetes terminology that is known as a container network interface, right? And there are multiple open source projects and the installation which can help us to achieve that, and we're gonna use a Calico for now. So there are a bunch of Concave, FLNL, Knitter, we can use any one of them, right? So if you just click on that, it would provide you all the instructions which are required to set up that. So as I mentioned that I'm just gonna use a Calico for now. So I have already copied all the commands. If I run this, you will see two processes are getting created. So it means there is nothing wrong in it. The last command which we have to run is, now there is no error. So if I just put a docker ps again, you will see Calico related stuff are coming here, right? Similarly, earlier when we run this kubectl get nodes, we were having a status not ready, but now we will be having that ready. You can see this, right? It means our master machine has been set up with the control plane working fine. Now this machine is ready to accept the join request from the worker machine and from the other machine which can be part of this cluster as a nodes, right? So this is what, from a setup perspective, to make this machine as a master and to start or configure a Kubernetes cluster. So now we are set for that. Now I just wanted to explain you a little bit about the control plane, but that would require some more understanding how we can do the setup. And maybe once we just done with the setup and we just create the cluster, then we're gonna see the functionality of each of these component, how the scheduler help us, what kind of information that provide, what kind of controlling it does. Then we're gonna see various controller which we have in a controller manager. Then we're gonna cover the API server. Then we're gonna understand the etcd as well, how it stores the data in a queue value. That's it from my side for this particular video. If you have any feedback or comment, just please feel free to put that in a comment section. I will do my best to just help you to understand the concept related to Kubernetes. That's it from my side, and as always, stay healthy, keep learning a new stuff.